Hey there, Brian Wright, founder, CEO of New Patient Group, managing partner of Right Chat, and excited that you have become a part of the Right Chat family and getting your training started. And we are going to start with an introduction on why the position you hold with Right Chat, why you as an agent, how you as an agent can transform the practices that you work with. And we're going to start with redefining the receptionist role. Very different stuff that we teach than really any business you'll ever find. If you call a plumber, a lawyer, in this case, more in healthcare that we have a niche in, if you call a hotel, we have redefined it all, right? And we want to transform the new patient phone call for this new economy so the receptionist becomes the new treatment coordinator. You say new economy, Brian, what in the world is that? Well, let's take a look. Well, according to Forbes, the average person views more than 10,000 marketing messages on any given day. Now, this is the practice, right? This is the practice that you're going to be answering for. They're distracted. The practice you're going to be answering for when you pick up the phone, the person you're answering that phone and talking to, they're distracted. But arguably the most difficult part of it all is you're distracted, right? So we have to make the practice happy. We've got to make their customers, their almost to-be patients happy, but we've got to do so in a way, right, that keeps their focus. We've got to talk to them different. This is why redefining the receptionist role is so important and why we have these on-demand courses, because you're hit with these 10,000 marketing messages on every day. So to get you trained, we've got to hone in that focus, okay? And this is also why you're going to hear it throughout this course, right? The flat screen TVs, all these other things, they're the distraction. We've got our phones in our hand all the time. People would rather do this than buy and read a book and self-educate themselves. There's distractions everywhere. And these distractions, according to Microsoft, have now made us dumber than a goldfish. Think about this. Like, let's talk about this for a second. Like, back in 2000, when this was done, right, it was 12 seconds. So it's decreased 4 seconds. And as I do this, 20 plus years later, as I do this video, the average consumer attention span has dropped to 8 seconds. Now, this has a lot to do with the marketing messages that I just showed you. But again, the people we answer for, distracted. The people when you pick up the phone and talk to and try to schedule them for the practice, distracted. And so are you, right? So we've got to hone in all the above to make happy customers, make sure we schedule their patients when you're on the phone, and make sure you're focused and executing what you're going to learn throughout this course at the highest possible level. Now, video is king. Now, this may not have directly to do with what you're going to be doing as a Right Chat agent, of course, but it's still important to know this all goes into the new economy. 1 minute of video is now equivalent to 1.8 million words. One of the reasons for this is that viewers retain 95% of a video's message compared to only 10% in other formats, text, talking in person, things like that. So you think about that for a second. This places an even greater emphasis, a greater importance on how excellent you are as a communicator, a presenter, your verbiage skills, the full understanding of the psychology of the consumer, so you can deliver words in a way that build value, keep people focused, getting them to listen, etc. And the rest of those, YouTube, second largest search engine to Google, 51% of Gen Z women prefer to find information via the video search on TikTok, right? So many different crazy things with this new economy. People value convenience over other factors, and they're willing to pay higher prices for it. You think about how you buy things. Well, the people that buy things in the healthcare, orthodontics, let's say Invisalign is an example, their buying patterns and how they buy are no different at a practice than they are at any other consumer type of business. It's important for you to understand this as an agent with Right Chat. So part of the convenience that we want to offer on the phones is making sure that we get on and off the phone as quickly as possible without sacrificing value. That's the key, right? We can't be on the phone for 1 minute and offer no additional value than the other 4 places they're calling, which I'm going to show you that in just a second, right? We have to be convenient. Now, people call upwards of 5 practices before deciding which to visit. Arguably, the most important stat you could ever remember as a Right Chat agent is that when you speak to somebody, you could be the 5th one or more that they've talked to, right? So we cannot deliver a call that ever resembles or comes close to resembling any other phone call those other 4 practices took. Now, you can't control if you're the 2nd or 5th or 20th practice they've called, but you have control if you're the 1st. Meaning that the way we're going to train you if you implement it, you can keep that person from calling practice 2 and 3 and 4, right? You can control that. An interesting stat for you to show how low the new patient call conversion has dropped in orthodontics and dentistry and beyond is the latest studies. As I do this training video today, it's dropped to 62%. Meaning that for every 100 calls that come into a practice, they are missing 38 of them. Okay, not missing them as in they didn't answer them, but missing them as that they did answer and they didn't convert them onto the phone. In combination with mishandling the call, there's also missed calls. So that 38% includes missed calls, mishandled calls, right? Maybe it's a price inquiry. How much do you charge for Invisalign, braces, a crown, whatever it may be? Receptionist butchers it. They say, let me think about it, and they never schedule, right? These are lost opportunities. And to put this in perspective, now this is an orthodontic example. These numbers would be different in dentistry as an example, but look at this. 38 new patients lost per 100 new patient calls coming into the office. If you do a practice that is a 70% treatment conversion, so what that simply means is that if they have 10 new patients in a month, 7 of them said yes and signed the contract. Okay, 70% is far higher than the national average, right? The national average, it hovers and it goes up and down, but it can be as low as the high 40s, high as the low 60s, right? So 70 is higher than what most practices are. But using that data, if we have a 70% treatment conversion and a $6,000 average case fee, these are the numbers. The practice is losing $228,000 per 100 new patient calls that come into the practice. Now, if you actually use the 70% conversion that I was talking about, the actual revenue is $159,600 lost per 100 new patient calls. Now, let's say the practice charges $7,000 on an average case fee and has an 80% treatment, right? These numbers are higher. Right? It's absolutely startling how much practices lose and how much of an impact a great receptionist can have. Right? On top of that, the infinite-minded, the people that realize, look, the data on paper, that's showing me some pretty bad stuff, but what's even worse is if we don't get those people through the door and buy, we also lose their sister, her 2 friends, and their 3 brothers, right? The domino effect that happens every time you lose one patient, it's actually way more that you're losing. As a receptionist, you can impact this in such a beautiful way. Now, the other stat is part of the new economy. People enter 3 or more practices before making a buying decision, right? So you as a receptionist have such an impact, 1, on getting them to schedule, 2, getting them to show up psychologically prepared to buy. We're going to talk about this here in just a second, but also as people enter these practices, you have such an impact on getting people to buy from one of those 3 or more that they're walking into. Okay. And again, going back, the competition is the practice and the other practice down the street and all the ones these people are calling. But it's also, do I spend $6,000 with Dr. Jones or the new flat screen TV? Do I spend $6,000 with Dr. Susie or the family vacation to Hawaii? Right? The consumers are always determining where to spend their money. And you as a receptionist have a direct and indirect, in some cases, impact on them going, I'm spending the $6,000 with Dr. Jones, right? You always have to remember that. Your role in the practice is so important. You hold the keys to the success. Now, let's look at this. Because unfortunately, receptionists don't answer calls in a way that place the value that I'm talking about, right? So in combination with what I just showed you a minute ago, the new patient no-shows between people calling 5 places, scheduling at 3 or more, new patient no-shows are on the rise. And in the orthodontic, this is another orthodontic industry example, using the same stats as before, is that if you just have 3 no-shows a month, just 3, that's 60 no-shows, or excuse me, that's 180 new patients that no-showed over the course of 5 years. That's a lot, right? So a lot of practices don't know the impact that this stuff can add up to. So that's, if you look at the numbers, that's $1,080,000 in 5 years of potential revenue lost. And using that 70% treatment conversion, $6,000 average case fee, the actual revenue is $756,000 people have lost in 5 years just because of no-shows. Right? Now, if we add that, it's way worse, right? Because it's the no-shows that you just learned, plus the 38 lost calls per 100 new patient incoming calls via missed calls and then poor conversion because the calls aren't handled properly. So the practices, and just add this up, right? And you could also chalk up a lot of other things before even people arrive that just absolutely kills the revenue and practices. So this is all something that we as a company, we as a Right Chat, you as an agent, you as a great receptionist, you can control this for the practice. You have such an impact. And again, also the referrals they're losing. Every time a no-show happens, obviously the no-show doesn't buy from the practice, and you lose the sister, her brother, her 3 friends, and their 6 sisters, et cetera, on down the road. It's that domino effect, the compounding effect that, again, you can have. Now, one of my favorite stats of all this is 91% of people surveyed said they would choose and or remain with a business because of the experience. So this is why experience trumps product, experience trumps service in any industry. And what it's so important to remember as an agent here is that you're the one delivering this experience. At this given moment in time on the new patient call, how you come across, your skill sets, your enthusiasm, et cetera, down the road directly impacts the experience these practices offer. And it's why we have such an impact on the practice from A to Z. Much like I said, new patient phone call, right? You get them to buy. We just had an impact on the exam room, right? And signing the contract, right? If you get them to buy same day, we just had an impact on their time because they don't have to follow up with them as much and hunt them down on pending treatment, right? Phone call is so critically important. So we have to, because of this new economy, right? And there's plenty of other stats, but I think those are the main ones to make the point. As a company and we've got to train you in a way so you become an expert in hospitality, right? There's a misconception, like we want to be customer service experts, but customer service is delivering the unexpected in order to get what you want, right? So as a business, you've got to get what you want by delivering more than expected. You do that with skill sets, right? Hospitality and customer service are not the same thing. Customer service is not something you do. Hospitality is something you do. And it's one ingredient of 1,000 that fit into that customer service definition. So we're going to train you on high-level advanced hospitality skills, sales fundamentals, which is somewhat of a dirty word sometimes in some people's mind, not in ours, and we'll explain why. And it's very important you fully grasp the true definition of sales, and we're going to train you on it in a very advanced way. Psychology, never been more important for you to understand the inner workings of the brain, the psychology of the brain, so you know what to say, when to say it, how to say it, and why to say it. Those 4 things we are going to train you hard in throughout this course and throughout your career with Right Chat, right? Because without understanding psychology, you can't be great in sales and you cannot be great in hospitality, right? They all are intertwined. Now, communication, the better we get in understanding psychology, the better communicators we can become. You're going to be trained on advanced communication skills as well as presentation. We have got to present in a way that places more value on the practice we're answering for over the other places they're calling, like the stats that I read earlier. Verbiage skills, right? In order to be great presenters and great communicators, we have to have great verbiage skills. And we're going to train you heavily on all of these advanced skill sets as well as many more. But these are the main ones that fit into this training. And we're going to do so you can learn how to frame things differently for the practices that you answer for. QR code in the lower right if you're a podcast listener. Hopefully that you'll all as an agent with Right Chat listen to my podcast, scan that. It's going to take you to something that's more in depth around the framing effect, but you're going to learn this throughout the training and throughout your career as you advance up the ranks with Right Chat. Is a cognitive bias where people decide on options based on how they're presented, right? And because of that, we've got to be great presenters, communicators, great at sales, psychology, all the things that I just discussed. That's why we're going to train you heavily. And inevitably, we've got to get people to draw different conclusions on what they perceive as the same, right? When you answer the call and you're the first or the fifth, people view the orthodontic practice, the dental practice, the other healthcare environments as the same. They've got degrees, they've got waiting rooms, they do Invisalign and braces. It's all the same stuff, right? So through the journey, we've got to be able to frame it differently. And when we do, the practice we answer for stands out. And when you stand out, you can charge more and convert higher than the other people. Now, the framing effect comes in three ways: written, visual, and verbal. Right? Sometimes it's all the above combined into one. Sometimes it's just one. As an example, here's a visual and a written. Okay, if you're shopping for yogurt and you want to be healthy, which one are you more likely to buy, right? Most people in an audience, when I speak or I ask, say, well, definitely the 90% fat-free, right? It's framed differently, even though it may be the same, right? Or that contains 10% fat, that one may actually be better, right? It may have the better ingredients, it may taste better, etc. But because it's not framed as well as the 90% fat-free, what happens is this yogurt here on the right wins. Right? This is the same with the phone call, right? You could be answering for, and this, I teach this all over the world, is the better chef will lose to the better business run and better framed restaurant. The better orthodontist will lose to the better business and the better framed orthodontic practice, et cetera, et cetera. Same with the yogurt, right? It's all the same, regardless of the business. You frame it differently, you win. And that's what we're going to teach you how to do. Same way here, right? If you're looking for a more tech advanced, tech forward, digital practice, which one are you going to pick? If you and your family shop around and you look for Invisalign and the one there on the left looks like it came out of the 80s, and the one on the right is a total immersive experience. Well, what we teach is the immersive experience. Take people out of where they think they are, virtual reality, make them feel like they're part of something else, right? So the exam room on the right would represent something we would do in a practice with new patient group, right? It looks way better, way advanced, et cetera, than the one on the left. But again, the one on the left may have the better doctor. So you as an agent, when you're speaking on the phone, you've got to create the images in people's minds that frame things in a way where they go, wow, this is the practice I want to choose. Wow, this is the practice I want to show up to. Wow, this is the practice I want to take the time to fill out the paperwork. Wow, this is the practice I want to buy when I walk through the door. Wow, this is the practice I want to tell other people about. This is the impact you have on the phones, right? So the framing effect takes place throughout this whole journey. What you're going to learn, and this is the new patient group journey, my other company. But what you're going to learn as an agent is specifically related to the new patient call. Now you say, Brian, why is leadership and culture circled in green? Well, here's the reason, right? You as an agent are going to get put through the ringers. We're going to role play with you. We're going to practice with you. We're going to hold you accountable. We're going to do what great leaders do because we care about our people and we care about our customers, right? But you and only you, in the end, when nobody's looking, can decide whether or not you implement this stuff. Don't take this as a job, take it as a career. Be obsessed with your career. Self-educate yourself. Show up to work every single day and be great at what you do, right? Be a leader, because you as an agent, you can be a leader too, because doing what I just described, you're going to lead others and they're going to follow you, and you're going to be in the ranks of a promotion. Right? And when you do that, you're going to be great at the new patient call. We're going to give you all the skill sets. We're going to train you beyond anything you've ever learned before. We're going to push you, train you, pull you, right? Give you feedback, coach you hard, rip it apart, do it again. And we do it because we care about you and your customer and our team members. And we care about our brand, right? You got to be a leader too, okay? And this all goes into, and why the new patient phone call is so critical, why you're the new treatment coordinator in these practices, is the halo effect. If people like part of your entire whole, they are more inclined to like the whole. So how you come across in this new patient call will directly impact how they think about the whole entire organization. Remember the framing effect, that digital workflow or the digital practice example. One exam room was outdated. Another one looked awesome, beautiful, immersive, right? That's the image we want to paint, but over the phones. How we use our words, all those skill sets, sales, psychology, hospitality, communication, verbiage, presentation, how you implement all those is going to come across in a way that people are going to like the whole, or they're going to go, sounds the same as the other one I called. I'm going to keep searching around for one that seems different, right? You control so much by being a receptionist, right? And we're going to take all of this, and all of this goes into the new job description for a new economy, right? First, your job is to get people to schedule, right? But the industry average is very low. We consistently average in the low to mid 90s for our new patient call conversion here. It's something we're very proud of, and you're going to play a big part of that. So this is something we plug so many holes for practices. So obviously we've got to get people to schedule. The other part of the job description is we've got to get people to complete their paperwork accurately and early. Now, here's what you're up against, right? So if we do an answer for a practice the way we teach, this is going to go great, right? If they implement and they want to force us to talk the way they want, it's going to be a problem. And it's going to be a problem because what you have to remember is that because people are shopping and scheduling at so many places, going into so many places, is that they have a lot of paperwork to fill out. And if the paperwork at the practice is analog based, like they have to print it out and the paperwork asks 1,000 unnecessary healthcare boring questions that they don't need to know, that's a hurdle for us getting that paperwork filled out for the practice. So we've got to use all the skill sets you're going to learn to be even better in those scenarios to convince people to see the value in going and filling out the paperwork, right? Now, getting people to show up to their appointment, big one, right? By doing that, we reduce the no-shows, right? And whatever the practice is like, they convert 50%, 90%, whatever the number is, if we can get more people through the door, it's going to help them grow. We have a direct impact on getting people to walk through the door. Remember that. Now, getting people psychologically prepared to make a purchase, right? So to purchase treatment day one, or at least know they want to be part of your family, right? So it may be a dental practice that we're answering for. Way more important for a dental practice to get people bought into becoming a patient for life than it is to getting them to buy something day one. Orthodontic practice, our verbiage changes because it's way more important to try to get them to show up, complete their paperwork early, show up, and then get them to make a same-day signed contract, a same-day purchase, right? And those are differences in verbiage. That's why our program, of course, there's foundation and there's similarities. But based on the type of practice we're answering for, the verbiage and the training changes because the environment changes. Also, get people to write a 5-star review. So this is not, I get asked all the time, you want us to ask for a review on the new patient call? No. But I do want you to be memorable. Because people's phones suck, guys. Think about this. You've called 1,000 places in your life. Does any one stand out as being memorable? The chances are probably no. And if the answer is yes, it's 1 or 2 out of that 1,000, right? So we want to be memorable because we want, and this has happened. It doesn't happen regularly, but it happens. And because it shows the power of the halo effect and the power you have as a receptionist, we want that almost to be patient, right? They haven't bought from the practice, so they're not a patient yet. They're just a consumer that's shopping and they're the same buying tendencies as anywhere else they shop and buy. We want that person to feel obligated to hit the internet and write a 5-star review about that practice. And we've seen it happen. It is possible when you knock out the training on this, all right? So amazing new job description. You are not a data collector, everybody. The minimum amount of data that you take on the phone, their name, email, and phone number, you don't need anything else. You feel like you do because you're a healthcare practice minded, but you're a people business. And the less questions you ask, the higher your conversion and the more likely it is they're going to show up. You don't need anything else because the paperwork you send them asks the same questions. Right? So Right Chat agents listening, sometimes we're at the mercy of how the practice wants to do it. But if they do it our way, across the board, their numbers will go up, right? And we're going to get you on and off that phone as fast as possible because it's convenient for the patients. It's convenient for us as well. We can offer a better experience for our customers. All right? So we're not a data collector. What we are is the ultimate sales machine. So the job description that you just saw turns in to the ultimate sales machine for the practice. Right? This is why, among all the other things you're listening, you are the new treatment coordinator in this economy. But sales is a scary word for some people, but this is what we're going to teach you, and this is what we teach others, is here's the definition of sales. It's educating ethically, right? We're not making stuff up. We're not going to edify a practice and say Dr. Jones is a top 1% Invisalign provider and has done thousands of cases. You're in great hands if they haven't done their first case yet, right? That's not ethical, right? We're not going to do that. That's why we learn our customers and we learn the bragging points and we take those bragging points and we implement them into the given active listening scenarios that you're going to learn when we start doing the 6 steps of the new patient call in the training there. We've got to educate ethically in order to place increased value on a given thing. In this case, the given thing is the practice you're answering for, right? How, even though they have a lot of the same stuff, they offer the same type of treatment modalities, how do we enlighten them and place them, and that's edification, by the way, the enlightenment, how do we place them at a higher level where people see value in a different way, right? And we're going to do it through all those skill sets. So with that, I hope you enjoyed the introduction into your phone training course. We're going to redefine the receptionist role. We're going to transform the new patient call for this new economy and beyond. And why the receptionist is your new treatment coordinator. I hope you just learned why, because now we're going to start a journey of training that's going to transform the skill sets, transform the job descriptions. You're going to do great things for the practices you answer for with RightChat. And all of this training is coming from New Patient Group. This is what we teach other practices. So if you're somebody out there watching this and you happen to want to be trained on all the skill sets that I'm just referring to, that's something New Patient Group does for practices all over the world at a very high level. We also bring that training into RightChat and teach the RightChat agents how to do it for you if you want to outsource it. All right. Talk to everybody soon. Let's get this training started. Bye-bye.